Hello and welcome to Easy Like a Sunday Morn. I'm your host, TheShaneLockwood, and today is Sunday, August 31st, 2014, and I think it's episode 23. Welcome aboard to brand new listeners and everybody who tunes in each and every week. I really appreciate that. I first of all have to apologise for there not being a show last week. I had quite a lot on my plate, and what I'm going to do this show is just deal with some of that stuff, and some of it is fairly negative because I went through it. It was pretty bad, but hopefully you might find a little bit of humour in some of it as I go through what was going on. Let's see. A few weeks back, several weeks back, there was an offer of work which didn't pan out. Long story short, didn't pan out, and that's all I'll really say about that. But the notification that it didn't work out happened on the same day that a certain celebrity had passed away. And when celebrities or anybody famous commits suicide, there's a tendency for people with depression to get really pulled into it. Now, it might affect them not immediately, but maybe a week or two later. There's a tendency to really feel drawn into wanting to follow somebody into suicide as well. And this person was someone who was really rich. They had a $30 million mansion, a wife, a beautiful daughter, those sorts of things, respected worldwide, and they were still unhappy inside themselves. So it's one of those things. The struggle for the rest of us becomes somewhat harder because we don't have all that money, we don't have all those possessions, we don't have all those other things that we associate with happiness and having a happy life and things like that. So, but then you can see there's a lot more emptiness to having all that money. Not that I'm against people having money, it's that, like it is, there's an emptiness to it. You can do so much stuff. It gives you a whole lot of options, but there's a point where you go, how much is too much? And when do things start becoming fake? And when do you stop being real? And that was something I had to deal with. Then the next week, I had to see my case manager, and I went in with my job search efforts, because you've got to prove that you're looking for work and etc. etc. And what had happened was, I walked in and he had the next fortnight's appointment printed out already and on the table. So here's your next appointment, and now that's normally done last. He asked me a few questions, and that was it. I was in and out in under 5 minutes. Now, these appointments can take up to an hour, and especially when you're trying to figure out like future directions and whatnot, because you're just discussing work, because that's the idea that you're there for. And I don't know what I'm going to do now that I've graduated, but it's just the beginning of my study career, really. Should I go back to university? Yes, one day, but I don't know what to enroll in. I don't know what my options are. But the door's open, and that's the positive thing. I can go back to university. Anyway, he was just, not only was he there for 5 minutes, he was watching music videos on his iPad. And I'm thinking, well, if he doesn't take me seriously, why should I take him seriously? And then I realised that he doesn't take me seriously. the job market, not the job market, the job networks don't take their clients seriously at all. So why should I take them seriously? I take myself seriously. I'm going to have to start fighting for myself from now on because there's nobody else looking out for me. And that's the way it is. You know, people say, well, why don't you talk about your family? Well, the reason I don't, and the reason why people don't talk about certain topics, is often because there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of betrayal. There's a lot of nastiness. Why would I want to talk about that on this show? It's got nothing to do with the concept, the idea of the show. This show was about taking time out away from the hard sell, people trying to sell you something all the time, or people talking loud, people talking fast, people trying to hype you up, people trying to manipulate you into feeling angry or scared or whatever. No, this show's about just taking a step back and slowing right down. It's about taking it easy like a Sunday morn. So anyway, I'm a little bit disheartened on the Tuesday, but then I realised that I've got the graduation from university, the ceremony, on the Wednesday. So I go through my wardrobe and I realise that I need a dress shirt and I need some dress pants. But I've got some dress pants, but the dress shirt that I've got is a little bit tatty, and so I decide to spend my last $20, right? My last $20 on a dress shirt. So I go to the shops and find a dress shirt, but the dress shirt I think is a few sizes too big, but it was the only size they had in the price range that I had, down to my last $20. Luckily they had a $20 shirt, so grab the shirt, come home, try it on, and it's a little bit snug, which means that I've grown a little bit around the middle since I wore a white t-shirt last. And the last time I ever really needed to wear a dress-up shirt was for a friend's funeral. So, yeah, it's been a few years, and thankfully, guys, keep those funerals few and far between. So I'm getting ready for the graduation, and I notice that my dress pants have a split down the side, a rather noticeable split down the side. So I find a safety pin, and I run out the door, and I get to the city and have just enough time to make a modification with the safety pin. And that works fine, works absolutely fantastic, until I go to sit down at the ceremony. Once you go inside the ceremony, you cannot leave. So I'm sitting down, and you have to sit there for the next few hours. And what happens? I feel a pain in my leg, and it turns out that the safety pin has become unhooked. So I'm trying to wrestle with the safety pin, get myself readjusted without drawing attention to the guy next to me who notices, and then I have to explain to him what's going on, yada yada yada. But the ceremony itself was absolutely fantastic. There was a great speech about the need for study and human intelligence and such like that. And basically the whole idea of just because you graduated, it shouldn't be the end of your studies, it's the beginning of your studies. And with the goal of maybe going back to university, continuing studying in your working life, and etc., etc. You know, it's about opening the whole world up to yourself. You know, you've got Google. Yes, you may have failed high school. Yes, you may have only gone to a certain level in schooling. But if you've got a question, type it into Google. Educate yourself. I think that's the biggest challenge I think that we have. We've got this information at our fingertips, but the key is trying to figure out what is true, what is not, but not being locked into a certain point of view. whether it's political, whether it's religious or spiritual or whatever, even science and things like that, it's not about being locked into a certain point of view. It's about looking at the evidence, finding something new, pushing yourself. Oh, yes, I can do this. I know a good friend of mine, Raggy Ragstyle, for example, who for the longest time convinced himself that he couldn't draw. And yet he started off doodling and doing cartoons and things like that. And now he draws far better than I can because he put the dedication and effort into it, but he was using YouTube to pick up different techniques, but then he was modifying those techniques to suit himself. So his way of learning and doing things. So you can do stuff. It's just a question of challenging yourself. And the other aspect of the graduation that was hilarious was some of the Asian names. Now, I don't want to get racist or anything like that. There was just some names that made sentences in English that were like hilariously funny to hear being called out. You know, like one fat guy, or there was another one I can't really repeat, but it was something to do with, I'll make it into this. It was Snake Chick, or something like that. There's all sorts of these names that were quite funny. And the guy next to me was from Africa, somewhere in Africa. And he leans over and says, if you think those are funny, wait till you hear my name. You know, you'll die of laughter. So I'm going, oh, great, here we go. So we get up, and we'll have to line up, and there's a couple of people backstage, and what they do is they go through and they just readjust your gowns and stuff like that, and the mortarboards, make sure they're on straight and whatnot before you walk across the stage. And there's all sorts of protocols and things like that you learn before you go across the stage. You know, you've got to either touch your mortarboard with your right hand, or if you're not wearing a mortarboard, you just nod, and then you shake hands with the guy. I can't remember his name or his title, and then they give you the what do you call it? The certificate. So anyway, I go across the stage, nod, shake hands, grab the certificate, look down the barrel of the camera of the photographer taking the photo, and go off stage. Next minute, I hear the guy behind me, the guy who was sitting next to me, his name gets called out. And I'm trying to keep a straight face as I come off the stage. His name is made up of 4 words. The first word has got more letters in it than both of my names put together, right? And then the second word is just as long, and then the third word is the word Sunday, because sometimes they bring in like a church-related English word, especially if they come over to Australia and things like that. And then I think he had a little short surname like Iki or something like that. It was like four letters or something like that. And yeah, he was. And then later when we went to sit down, because you can't leave until everybody's got their certificates, you see. And it turns out that he showed me his name. I thought, geez. And I thought, I just started calling him Chucky Sunday, because part of his name, or the first word, had like Chaku in it, and then the second was started again with Chaku, so it was like Chaku. But yeah, incredible, these names and things like that, various different languages and stuff. It's amazing when you're dealing with like a global community like a university. And I think I said something to the parents of Storm, who I interviewed like a few weeks ago, and said I think that he would be bored at university. And they started to get a bit offended. Oh no, he's intelligent. But what I meant was not that he was intelligent, not that he would be bored because he would not understand the work. It was because he'd be bored because he'd have to wait for them to catch up to where he was. So So Storm is brilliant in that he's embraced all the protocols of what programmers actually do. And a lot of what university is about is teaching you those protocols. And you're left to your own devices a lot of the time. But I think he would fly through a lot of the first year because everybody does the same first year, because they're trying to find gaps in people's knowledge. And that's why I think he would be bored. I think he'd be just so far ahead. He would get straight HDs or high distinctions for his work. And then again, he told me confidentially that he didn't really want to go to university. He couldn't really see the point in it. But I stopped the podcast recording because I thought, well, if I can't convince him, then maybe his parents could. But to me, and don't forget, he's only 14. So to me, it was more about that piece of paper shows an employer, shows other people, his peers, other programmers that he would be working with, hey, I can do this. And not only that, I've got a piece of paper that actually proves that I can do it. So it's not just him making his own programs and things like that, but he can go anywhere in the world and then say, oh, look, yeah, by the way, I've got a master's degree in programming, or whatever it is that he wants to do. There's all sorts of other avenues that he could go down. I think I wish that I'd gone back to university, but with richer parents and a lot younger, because there's a whole heap of opportunities to study overseas, student exchange programs, all sorts of weird and wonderful things you can do. But I just didn't have the time to pick up a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I digress. Yeah, okay, now, with the graduation photo, they had these professional photos, right? And there were two lots. One was like a $40 one where you stand with your gown, with your certificate, right? And it's professionally done. You get the one shot, it's $40, and it's a big, massive A4 picture. And I'd be prepared to pay $40 for that, right? But what the other professional ones, the one that there's a photo of me shaking the guy's hand with the certificate in hand, they wanted to charge me $45 for two basically A5 sized photos, basically not much bigger than your traditional photo, right? And wow. And I just went, no way. One, it was two. I didn't have the money at the time because don't forget, I just spent the last $20 on my dress shirt and making sure that I had the money, the bus metro card thing, had enough money to actually get to the graduation. Then, yeah, so I was penniless, really. Then the photo itself maybe looked like Nosferatu, and I just went, no way. I go outside, go to take a photo of myself with my video camera, and someone who was sitting next to Chucky Sunday, right, comes out and says, oh, do you want me to take your photo for you? Okay, yeah, fine. So what I did was, I said, instead of taking a photo, use the video. All you got to do is press record on the video. So she recorded video with my video camera, and it looked 100 times better. Because I framed it myself. All I had to do was step back a bit. She pressed the button. She recorded for a few seconds. I gave a thumbs up, and it was fine. Absolutely fantastic. Then I uploaded that photo to the video. I converted to a photo, and then I uploaded it to Facebook. And there's something like over 112 people like that photo out of like 400 people on my friends list, which means there's only like 112 people that are probably active at any one time. And that was over a couple of days, so that was pretty cool to know that there's that many people actually seeing what I post on Facebook. Obviously, not everybody's going to agree with the stuff that I share on Facebook, and not everybody's going to like my statuses, but it's good to know that there are people out there who will appreciate stuff when there's good stuff going on. What else happened? Oh, last Sunday I lost my hearing aid as well. That sort of contributed to my bad mood. Looking like Nosferatu really was a wake-up call. It sort of highlighted the way people treat me sometimes, and because that's the way they see me. It's not how I see myself, but it can be quite crippling, that sort of self-esteem. When it's down like that, it can be really, really nasty. Okay. Now, what else? Oh, Monday I had a bout of, a bit of a stomach upset, so I had to stay home and I couldn't do a whole lot. So I just couldn't even do a show that was late. I just had to cancel it for the week. So apologies to anybody who hangs on to this show every week. This is going up hopefully on time, and I've been speaking basically non-stop for the last 20 minutes or so, which is great. Now, what else happened? Oh, I want to say thank you to everybody who said they were going to be sending me stuff. I know there's a few people that have run out of money and they're waiting for their electricity bills to be cut off, and their electricity to be cut off because they can't afford the bills and stuff. Pay your bills first before you send me anything. I don't want people in financial straits and things like that before, The other thing was I did the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and this leads me into an episode of Meme Busters, because there's a couple of memes going around that have been debunked, thankfully. The first one is the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Now, when I did it, I said on video that only 7% of the money raised goes to the actual research and stuff like that. That's not true. In fact, there's quite a few people sharing videos of people making quite erroneous statements about what's going on. Of course, what happens is nobody bothers to do their own research, and then they just parrot what's being said. So what I did was, someone had posted something else, and I went, no, I don't think that's true. So I went to Snopes, and luckily Snopes has actually debunked the ALS meme. Did you know that 72.4% of the $90 million raised does actually go to charity? 72.4% goes to charity. It does what it's supposed to do. So if you were doing part of the challenge, if you donated money, it's doing the right thing. You did the right thing. The money is going where it should have. Absolutely fantastic effort. Shame on you if you didn't, and shame on you if you were spreading the lies like I did. But I'll have to put an apology video up at some point in the future. Now, the second meme to bust is the one about the Facebook Messenger app. And this one is a hard one to debunk. But what people were saying was that, the Facebook Messenger app will, you've got to grant it access to this and that, and next minute it's sending SMSs with your name on it, and it's capturing all your details, and it's monitoring this XYZ, and it's taking photos of you when you're asleep and all this sort of stuff. And you've got to stop and think, hang on, do these people actually know what they're saying? Do they listen to themselves when they say this stuff? No, it doesn't. It can't do that. By not necessarily law, it's just good ethical conduct. And I think just plain computer knowledge that a program cannot do anything unless you give permission to do so. A company has to abide by an ethical standard anyway. So Otherwise, they lose a lot of money, right? They get sued for this stuff, right? Facebook cannot record your voice unless you give it permission to do so. A lot of these programs cannot take your photo unless you give it permission to do so. It's plain and simple. It's basic. Don't get sucked into this stuff. Question everything. Okay? Now, 25 minutes in, how awesome is that? I'm back to my old form. Okay, now I've got a quick question for you guys. Do you guys prefer the new intro music that's provided by Raggy Ragsdale? That was the lullaby sort of sounding do-do-do-do-do kind of music. Or do you prefer the Liberator X Radio do-do-do-do-do-do, that kind of music? Because when Diana found this podcast on the TuneIn, she found the older episodes that had that thing, and when she heard that, there was a smile across her face, and I wanted to know whether she preferred that edition or whether you guys think I should stick with a new one. Now, I know a few people will say, "Oh, it's your podcast, do whatever you like." Yes, but at the same time, I want you guys to listen every week. So that's why feedback is important, because you guys are the ones that are listening, and if you don't like something in the show, then you're not going to listen the next week, are you? So that's why I'm asking you guys whether you prefer the older one or the newer one. I don't have time to splice it into the show now. I might do that next week and then ask you guys again. But for now, 3 minutes left. Okay. Bit of positive news. I met up with an old friend who still works where I used to work, and it turns out that the people that got me fired, well, I wasn't fired and I didn't really quit. I just chose to go to university, and then they didn't bother ringing me back for shifts. Well, these troublemakers quit a few months ago. How awesome is that? That's pretty awesome. Plus, the boss has left. My old boss left. Wow, how bad were things if that happened? And the contract went to the parent company of the company that I used to work for. So things are a little bit tighter, and they're going to work us a little bit harder. But the troublemakers are gone. The boss is gone. My friend said, give him a ring. And I sort of chickened out a little bit. I wanted to get my life sorted out a little bit. But I'm going to be ringing them tomorrow and finally maybe get my old job back. Won't be working every day, I don't think. But 8 hours a week, it's guaranteed paid, and why not? Why not? And I get to work with my friends, have a bit of a laugh, and if I can wrangle it, I'll probably not doing what I used to do, but work in the kitchens, which means that even though I work fairly hard, you get a bit of a laugh as well, and I'm not lifting and stretching and doing all that sort of stuff that I normally did. The one that basically doing what I did, split my dress pants. Oh, by the way, I did get another pair of dress pants eventually. Not bad. They were normally $50 and they were down for $15. Now I think that someone may have had a bit of a frequency hearing loss. 15 sounds like 50, and I think they may have marked them down by accident. I'm not complaining. Benefit in my favour. Anyway, if you'd like to be part of the show, leave me a message. You can tweet me on Twitter. It's SHAIDO. You can send me an email at Shane_Lockwood@hotmail.com, where you can send me audio files and things like that as well. There's a Facebook group with the link down below. Please add this to your Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, and any other podcasting app that you use. It's just easy like a Sunday morn. The RSS feed details will be down below as well. Wow, I can talk underwater. But I thought what I would do this week is just wait until I was in a better mood. Last week I was in a bad place. This week I've got to really pick myself up by the socks again and start all over again. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm getting my new hearing aid next Tuesday. I've got to pay my internet off and then sort out what I'm going to do. And thank goodness for food kitchens and soup kitchens and things like that, because I would be in big trouble. Anyway, now I'm going to take it easy like a Sunday morn, and I hope that you too have a great week. But before I go, I know that there's quite a few of you hanging out for the code word. So get your pens and paper ready. Are you ready for today's code word? And today's code word is the word operation. 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 And speaking of operations, Old Salty 65 has had an operation, and hopefully he'll be recovering very shortly. Thoughts and prayers go out to him as always. And I will catch you again next week. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a great Sunday afternoon and a great week too. That's all from me today. Take it easy. Like a Sunday morn.